Today, we are going to dive into one of the most epic bear attack stories in history. Don't go for the little bear spray. Go for the big one.
Splurge.
Yeah, if you go for the little one's just like pepper seasoning for yourself. You're just like making the meal better. This episode of Becoming Brave is brought to you by Summit Adventure Fuel. What's going on, everybody? I'm Mark Vins, and welcome back to another episode of the Becoming Brave podcast. I'm joined by Asa and Andrew, and today we are going to dive into one of the most epic bear attack stories in history. I am talking about the infamous story of Hugh Glass that inspired the movie The Revenant. So if you like the movie The Revenant, stick around. This is going to be the Becoming Brave podcast for you. Like always, this episode is brought to you by Summit Adventure Fuel. If you need electrolytes in your life like I do, check the link in the description. This is on sale now. It is our proprietary blend and is the official beverage of the Brave Wilderness channel and the Becoming Brave podcast. But guys, how are we doing?
Fantastic.
Doing good. I can't wait to dive into this story.
This is a big one. I'm glad we're doing this one. I love this movie. I love the movie The Revenant. And of course, the story that inspired it is even crazier.
Mm-hmm.
Good mix of survival and wildlife.
Totally. And before we get into the story, we're going to retell the story very quickly of what happened to Hugh Glass. But before we get into that, let's talk about some current events, news. What's going on in the world right now, guys? Brave Wilderness, what's happening?
Brave, we have a huge new video that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks.
That's right. Do you want to give everyone the spill the tea?
Finally, you're taking the sting of the giant Asian hornet.
Yes, the Japanese giant hornet, the murder hornet, is finally hitting the YouTube waves. And it's actually going to be pre-released here on the Mark Vins channel. So for all the super fans and the people that have already subscribed to Mark Vins and this podcast, you are going to have first look at the murder hornet sting test. And I can tell you without question, it is bad.
Spoiler, yeah, it's bad.
It is. Even like being removed from a couple months from doing it, like it's insane. It's so gnarly. The aftermath and what happened after I got stung. And by the way, another little spoiler alert, way different than what Coyote experienced. Like not even close to being the same.
Yeah, the swelling. I don't want to say more, but the swelling.
And the blood.
Yeah, it's like, it's different than the centipede bite, which was gnarly because like you see the wound that the centipede caused, and you're like, yeah, that's gonna lead to that kind of effect. But man, for a sting to do what that did to you is like just shocking.
So what is that, 2 weeks? End of May?
Yep, end of May.
Okay.
On Mark Vins'
So
channel.
when this comes out, it might be like tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's very soon. So, check check the Mark Vins channel often and frequently. That one's coming soon. We also have some other adventures that are really cool that are coming up.
Bad scorpion stings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad.
Huge scorpions, small scorpions. Oh, man, we've got...
And then we get hands-on with the deadly scorpion that we did in Dubai.
Oh, my God.
That's right.
I forgot about that one.
So much scorpion stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be a scorpion-filled summer.
Yeah, it is. And, another video that I wanted to just point out real quick, I'm going to go to the Mark Vins channel, was the gorilla video. 100 men versus one gorilla. People really resonated with that.
Generated a lively comment section.
Yeah, I was I guess I'm not surprised, but I was surprised how many comments were posted. Let's go and you guys want to check some of them out?
Yeah.
Let's see here, because we asked the question, who do you think would win, the 100 men or a gorilla, after we gave our opinion.
No consensus in the comments. It's
really.
Yeah. There's really a divide.
The gorilla would get overwhelmed, crowded, and lose. That was my only route for the men to survive.
Yeah. And we did clarify, this is without weapons.
Without weapons.
Julius JMC says, I think you seriously underestimate the power of man. Wow. Julius. Team 100 men, I guess.
Put them in there.
Yep. 10 professional fighters would be enough to take one gorilla. Yeah, we didn't stipulate that they're... I said they're like gladiators, so maybe. I don't know. It depends what weight.
Yeah.
What weight class are we talking about? Definitely not lightweight.
Yeah,
That's not
if
gonna
you
work.
had a bunch of heavyweights in there, like...
You get a bunch of literally little LeBron James build, like 6'8" and heavy and fast and athletic. Like,
I mean, that's different. We're going the average man in the U.S.
it's here's somebody. Final stage 4L says, why don't they just get 100 volunteers to face a gorilla and see what happens? I think that would be a crime on both sides. People would definitely not survive. I don't think we can do that. Final stage.
I don't think anyone's going to sign up to actually find out the final verdict.
Also, nothing. You get nothing out of it other than being like, all right.
By the way, this is obviously like we care about animal welfare and all the things that we've stood for the last decade, but this is just like a fun,
it's
hypothetical.
Such a ridiculous debate going around right now.
Yeah. Gosh, there's some other great ones in here. Wildlife specialist here, combat 2. Combat. So this is health preacher. There's no way 100 athletic men could kill a healthy gorilla. The only way is to use your brain and make weapons and spears like Navy SEAL team without no Navy SEAL team without weapons could do it. I tend to agree. But if it's one at a time and we just wear the gorilla down, that is the only way. If it's all at once, I think the gorilla just melees everybody.
Yeah.
Andrew's thinking. Andrew has a different opinion.
I think it's, if you ran all at once, you need the mass just like weight of, that's
there's a lot more total muscle mass.
I did see one comment. It's screwed up because it starts to get into like the details of it, but they were like, if you like charged it with like enough people and just got a bunch of people like kicking at it.
Oh, like overwhelm it?
Yeah, like, and then it just like
it would have to be humans with like the brains of like ants, termite mentality.
Yeah,
I see your point.
Willing to say but like that is so unfathomable. Like 100 people willing to die to kill to help kill this gorilla.
You know, that's actually not a. Now I'm thinking about like, have you ever seen like there's like videos out there with like little kids can like overtake an adult. Granted, that's a lot closer in strength than a gorilla, but I guess I could see.
Yeah,
that.
you think like
even if a gorilla's 2,000 pounds, which I think would be an overestimation, 10 guys, it's getting close.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to finish off this segment, I have a new. Being that the theme of this survival story is a bear attack, let's open up a new can of worms. What do you guys think about this? Who would win? A grizzly bear versus or 100 men?
I think
the wheels are turning.
Yeah.
You're visualizing it. I know how I feel because I thought about this before the podcast, but I'm curious your instant reaction. 100 men versus like a big grizzly. We're not talking about a small cub or something like that. We're talking about like the giant grizzly bears from Alaska, 1,000 pounders, big boy.
So my first thought is that it definitely has less overall dexterity than a gorilla.
Yeah.
So it might be easier to like overwhelm from like behind if it's dealing with a mass of people in like the front of it. Like it feels like it'd be easier to swarm versus a gorilla, which can like
I think
swing.
Their agility. I know. I mean, there's
definitely tougher units overall.
Yeah.
More of like a tank. Like
like you could get behind it and it like I feel like a gorilla could just like.
So
it can pull a spin move.
Here again.
The spin move's really getting me.
Knowing what we know about human psychology, right? Like I feel like if it was all at once or one at a time, bear wins.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, one at a time, it'd be like rah. Like it would just be.
It would swat your head off.
Yeah. I even think like grizzly bear versus gorilla, totally different conversation. I'm not sure the gorilla wins that. I think the grizzly bear might win, but because they're tougher. Bears, their hide and their claws, and they're just. I don't know what the humans would have to do to win.
It's like I think the gorilla would beat up the bear very like horribly. But I feel like the bear just has to get one good claw into the gorilla,
just
and
enough.
it's like cold.
There's more weapons.
Yeah.
Bear has more weapons.
Yeah,
literally like kitchen
talons,
kitchen knives for claw.
Like, so
it would take one good just right to the gorilla. And
so knowing what we know about human psychology, like if the 100 people swarmed the grizzly bear, and they instantly started to win, and it looked like they were going to prevail, I think the humans could eke out a win. However, what we know would really happen. One or two people would instantly get just like decapitated from being swatted and bitten and just savaged that everyone else would flee. That's what would actually happen.
Yeah.
So there's no way in my opinion, no way 100 men would be.
I think that's the
same
same thing with the gorilla too.
I think it takes
you need
100 men with the brain of ants to do it.
Yeah, and I think they have the better shot with the bear.
You know,
Overall.
You do? See,
Yeah.
but what are you going to do? How do you take out the bear? Like, what are you doing?
that is a good point. Okay, so with the gorilla, with 100 men, like if you were like,
Headlock.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do?
If you were like gouge its eyes, no matter what, you're gonna die a horrible death, but you get a good like claw at its face. You know, eventually.
Yeah.
God,
I
their
don't
jaws
know.
are scary though, man.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know, guys.
when they have their mouth open, like it's basically armor and then teeth.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not sure a single human being could take out like a badger. You know what I mean? Like a small, ferocious mammal.
I can take a badger.
I don't know. Man.
Actually, maybe not a badger. They're tough.
I've seen badgers. They have crazy eye. First of all, like that's a whole. Again, I'm using scale here to be like the bear is the strongest, toughest mammal, predatory mammal, in my opinion. Maybe I would put it right next to like a tiger. I think those two are like the top dogs in terms of predator mammals.
Yeah.
Now, do you think there's even like a weakness that could be exploited on a grizzly bear?
I know,
even
that's
a
what
lot
I'm
of
thinking
people.
about. Like,
You could like pull its fur. But that's not doing it.
Yeah, it's doing nothing. It's just gonna make it more encouraged to savage you. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, they don't really. I mean, again, it's just Matt. You would have to just
I mean,
send everyone at it and
attack its gonads.
just kick.
Yeah.
Just kicks.
On that note, I think it's time to get in the story of Hugh. And I think
Yeah.
this was a good conversation because this really tees up how incredible of a story this is with
Yeah.
Hugh Glass. So I'm gonna just read through the recap that
Tell
we
us
put
the
together.
story. Let's hear it.
And then we can go into some questions we've created and really start to unpack just how miraculous this is and why it was worth creating a movie about. Here we go. So, story takes place in 1823. Frontiersman Hugh Glass was part of a fur trapping expedition with the Rocky Mountain Fur Company, moving through the rugged wilderness of what's now the Dakotas. The terrain was largely unmapped, the wildlife unpredictable, and the risks were high, not just from animals, but also from conflicts with local indigenous tribes and, of course, the exposure to the elements. You know, anytime, especially in this period, that you're out in the wilderness for long stretches, you could just die from drinking the wrong water, eating the wrong food.
I mean, the Dakotas in the winter.
Yeah, breaking your leg,
Still.
rattlesnakes, pretty much all the cases that you see in the Oregon Trail could happen to you. So while scouting ahead near the Grand River, which is now in present-day South Dakota, Glass surprised a mother grizzly bear with 2 cubs, which, as we know, that is like, you know, playing with dynamite.
Yeah.
That is the most dangerous situation that you can find yourself in with the bear, is getting between a mother and her cubs.
Yep.
So she attacked him almost instantly. The bear mauled Glass severely, breaking his leg, tearing large portions of flesh from the back from off his back and his side, leaving him with deep gashes across his face and scalp. So I haven't read through this yet, and this is like hard to even read. It's
Yeah, I mean, he just
The-
got
the-
absolutely
the tearing
mangled.
off is like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
yeah, it just sends chills up your spine. So the other trappers eventually reached Glass and managed to kill the bear, but by then Glass was already critically injured. The expedition tried to carry him on a ladder for a couple days, but the progress was slow, and they were in hostile territory. Captain Andrew Henry, the leader of the expedition, asked for volunteers to stay with Glass until he died. So they're pretty much writing him off. And 2 men, John Fitzgerald and Jim Bridger, agreed. After several days, believing that Glass wouldn't survive, they abandoned him. So now he's left for dead. They took his rifle, his knife, and equipment, and later reported to the group that they had buried him. Of course, they had not. But Hugh Glass, as we now know, for those who have seen The Revenant, did not die. Alone and unarmed and with no supplies, he regained consciousness. With his broken leg and his wounds that were now infected, he was deep in unfamiliar terrain, around 200 miles from Fort Kiowa, the nearest trading post. So all he could do was crawl. He started crawling, And Glass survived by moving slowly, first dragging himself across the ground and then eventually limping once he's able to get on his one good leg and bear some weight. He followed streams and rivers southward, using water as both a resource and a navigational tool. So he was literally just using the path of the water as the direction to go. To treat his wounds, he reportedly let maggots consume the dead flesh around them, preventing the gangrene from spreading. And that is just gruesome. But that effectively saved his life. He also splinted his leg using sticks and rawhide. He fed on whatever he could find, so he was eating berries, roots, and small animals. And at one point, he came across a bison carcass that had been scavenged by wolves. That does not sound like a good meal, but if you're in a desperate situation, you do what you got to do. He was briefly aided by a group of Lakota or Mandan who helped clean his wounds and gave him limited supplies. So these are indigenous people. But the majority of his journey over the next 6 weeks was made alone. When he reached Fort Kiowa, he was emaciated, still recovering from severe injuries from the bear attack, and word of his survival quickly spread. He eventually confronted both men who had left him. He forgave Bridger, who was only 19 years old at the time. Bridger went on to become very famous. There's actually mountains named after him. Fitzgerald, who had joined the military, because of his position, Glass couldn't legally act against him, so he let it go. Sounded like he didn't want to let it go.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. What's remarkable about the story is not just the physical endurance, but the clarity of purpose. Glass wasn't just surviving. He was navigating, scavenging for food, healing, all while moving hundreds of miles through dangerous wilderness with no real safety or guidance. While it's hard to verify every single detail, being that it was so long ago, the core of this story, the bear attack, the abandonment, and the weeks of crawling to safety has been supported by several firsthand accounts and fur trading journals. So without question, we can say that this is based and is a true story. Whew. Wow. That is crazy. I mean, it's essentially the Revenant as we saw it on screen.
If you've seen the movie The Revenant, then you've pretty much seen this story play out.
Yeah, even down to the names. I think they're all named after these actual historical figures.
I mean, you think about the absolute willpower that would be required to accomplish this. Like, he must have been already one tough dude.
Oh, yeah.
To even consider, like, most people would probably just lie in wait for death.
Yeah.
If he's the guy going out and scouting for a fur party like that, you would think he is one of like the most qualified outdoorsmen there already is.
So he's already got some skill sets. So that's aiding to his advantage. Yeah. He likely has gone through some other close calls and had to survive other situations.
Yeah, basically like the westward expansion of America. Like if you're on the frontier of that industry back then, you are literally probably the toughest people in the country. You know?
Oh my gosh! Here, let's get a look at this guy. This is Hugh Glass. This is a sketch, obviously. Whoa!
Look at that brow, man. That's a rugged man.
And then you have, of course, the bear attack.
These are some older depictions of it.
So this is from a journal.
Yeah.
Sketch. Okay. And then
I think this is an artist
rendition.
Painting it. Yeah.
Jeez.
Man.
Yeah, you don't have much of a chance.
Yeah.
It's just a miracle that he survived that period, like in that acute moment. I mean,
just nuts.
So let's go step by step. There are 3 big stages of this story. The first is the bear attack. Let's start there. Having seen grizzly bears in the wild before, it is unsettling just to be in their presence. And this is when they're not attacking. I cannot imagine the white out of fear that would come over you with a charging grizzly. To even be able to click into instinct fight mode, I'm not even sure most people would be able to get that far.
I think for most people, like, it's one of those things where, like, it's coming at me. And there's just that blankness of, like...
You're frozen.
Yeah.
You're frozen. You're not moving. You're not running. And by the way, you're not supposed to run from a grizzly bear. They can run well over 30 miles an hour. They will catch you. You're not outrunning a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
So your only bet is to ragdoll.
Yeah. I thought you're supposed to like flop on the ground and cover like the nape of your neck.
Yeah, you're essentially supposed to embrace and wait for the bear to leave. And that's your only chance at survival, because essentially when there's a mother and cubs, she sees you as a threat. She is just trying to eliminate the threat. Mm-hmm. And the more you fight, the more you become
a potential threat. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if you're fighting, there's a higher likelihood that she's going to just kill you. Mm-hmm. Possibly eat. All the bears that eat people are usually it's usually after the kill. Mm-hmm. So the only time bears will eat or kill people for food is if it's a bear that's late for hibernation, or, weakened, or in a state where it's so desperate that it looks at you as food. Most grizzly bears are looking at you as a threat, whether you're a threat to their territory or a threat to their cubs. Mm-hmm. So, when you see grizzlies in the wild, if you see a mother and cubs, that is the time to retreat and try to slowly back away without being noticed. If you're noticed, you hold your ground and you stand still. If you're attacked, you protect your neck and you essentially wait. That's all you can do.
Yep. Oh man.
There is no good response.
I know.
The reason we know, by the way, one of the first hit videos Brave Wilderness made was how to survive a bear attack. Yeah. We actually won an Emmy on this video. Coyote and I filmed this in Montana. Probably even before the channel was launched in 2014. We filmed a lot of the videos that started the channel before we launched it. So it would have been that summer. And that has still to this day been one of the most storied videos we've made. And that's how I know a lot about, we studied a lot about bear attacks and what to do and what not to do. And with grizzly bears in particular, you have to just succumb to their size and the fact that there's no chance to beat them. You can't outrun them. You can't beat them. You can try to hold your ground, and sometimes by doing that or using bear spray, you can divert them. But if it's a mother and her cubs, there's almost no chance that she's going to back down. You're screwed.
Yeah. Hugh was screwed.
Yeah. From the start.
So he's just lucky to survive the attack. Mm-hmm. The second part of the story to unpack is his team that was trying to help him survive. And how long was that?
It was 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
And they were just riding him off.
They assumed, they weren't actually trying to really keep him alive. They were keeping him with them to pretty much see it out once he was dead.
Yeah. So they
didn't want to abandon him. They wanted to give him a proper burial. And that was the plan. Ultimately, the guy, I believe they were actually paid to stay behind with him for a bit.
So they assessed his wounds. They consider them mortal wounds. He's not going to get out of this. So we're just going to
kind of fairly, dare I say.
Yeah. And this is probably common practice back then. Obviously bear attack, very extreme situation, but people get sick. People get diseased or get gangrene or bitten by a rattlesnake, and they ultimately succumb to these situations. And it seems like this was the protocol. Hey, wait until they pass, give them a proper burial, head on back to camp.
Yep.
So they waited 2 days and they just decided now we're risking ourselves, I assume. We don't know this detail, but I'm assuming you don't leave a person if you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, the rest of the group had already left. So I'm thinking they started maybe fear started to set in, or whatever.
Winter could be setting in. There could be a lot of reasons why staying is now putting your life at risk. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't dying.
Yeah.
But the fact they took all his stuff.
Taking all his stuff is a little.
Oh, that I don't understand. I get maybe taking the gun because of that. Back then I'm sure those were a high-end commodity, and you needed it for survival. But taking the knife,
ouch.
What else did they take?
All his, I think, just ration, pretty much anything of value he had on him.
Yeah, man. I feel like you gotta, if someone's still alive, you have to at least leave them with a fighting chance.
Yeah.
So that's kind of messed up. Mm-hmm. Not kind of. That's messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I could see why you'd be upset.
Yeah.
After that, of course, the movie The Revenant takes a little bit of a different liberty.
Yeah.
On this part of the story. And for those who haven't seen The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio, I highly recommend watching it if you're into survival stories. I don't want to spoil the movie in this podcast, but there are still scenes from that film that we use as inspiration for how we film stuff in Brave Wilderness. We call them the Revenant shots. A lot of times when we're like setting up an environment or creating like landscapes, we have these pans and moves with like light beams and all of that inspired by the Revenant. So the Revenant, definitely a foundational film for the Brave Wilderness look and feel. But, you know, where they go in the movie doesn't seem to be what happened in real life.
Yeah. They took quite a few liberties with it from what I understand and saw. But
now the bison part, that's in the movie. The surviving,
remember the
and
wolf
the maggots,
scene? Yeah,
that's all in the film.
He was truly mauled, like
crawling.
Yeah.
So the third part to the story is the human, endurance side of this, where you're enduring what others deem to be mortal wounds. So you're left for dead, and now you're navigating your way hundreds of miles where other scavengers and other things could take you. You're in such a weakened state. It's unbelievable that he survived.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the willpower that it would take someone to just say like, hey, instead of just laying here and trying to remain as comfortable as I can given my wounds, I'm going to start crawling along a river and eating bugs and berries and whatever I can find. 200
miles.
Such a long way to go, man.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
How many weeks was it? Did it say?
Not sure.
6 weeks.
6 weeks, yeah.
6 weeks of that. Now, inevitably, you'd assume you're gaining strength.
Yep.
So you're getting more and more confident every day. But I can only imagine that first week being just so desperate.
I mean, broken leg, you're not healing from that in 6 weeks.
A broken leg is almost a death sentence back then.
Yeah.
I mean,
in that terrain, like Jesus.
Internal bleeding killed a lot of people from injury back then. There was no way to treat it.
it's just, any way you look at it, he was just so tough. Like
Toughest guy ever?
Probably, I'd say up there.
Like makes the list.
Yeah, definitely makes the list. All right, let's get into the questions. So food in the wild is the first topic that we have on our question sheet here. What natural food sources would you guys feel comfortable identifying as a potential food if you were in this situation? Like, what would you be looking for?
Yes.
God, all my stuff, like we're here in coastal New England, I feel like I could survive in that environment for a little bit, but oh my
assume
God.
Assume you know the plants.
Yeah. I mean,
you have to be armed with a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience actually identifying them and eating them. Like, especially with plants, like you have to both have the knowledge and have done it before in real life to really have a chance at doing it. So, I mean, this guy's probably pretty well seasoned in that regard.
I mean, number one, like going for it's food in some sense, but like running water is number one.
Well, you need water.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you hear water, you're gonna make your way to the water.
But if it's stagnant, I was thinking that like if you're,
it wouldn't be running out west. It would be. I mean, sorry, it wouldn't be stagnant. It would be running.
But in an environment like a survival environment, and I didn't have any way to like treat the water. I'm thinking like, would you guys?
There's no treating water.
Yeah. If you could boil it, if you could find a way to like start a fire and actually maintain.
I'd be pretty confident with Rocky Mountain region water. In the 1800s.
Yeah, just going
cold.
for it.
You want to make sure it was cold.
Yeah,
fast.
But if you didn't have that, would you guys risk it on still water, or would you just like?
That's my question. To a point, yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think if you're desperate enough, you're probably just not even thinking.
Look, if you're not injured like that, I think there are definitely other ways to source and find safer means of water. But if it can't move or walk and you're spending all your energy just army crawling to the river, I think you're drinking whatever water you're touching. Yeah, actually, even if it's from a pond. Luckily, it wasn't in Iowa. You were in Iowa, you'd be in big trouble.
But yeah, I mean,
so the environment itself, sort of, as much as it put him in peril, saved his life because of that running water. That's the way I see it.
Or snow. If he had snow, that's also another opportunity for hydration.
But now you're freezing to death.
Oh, that's true. Tough break.
Yeah. I mean,
I would think fish would still be a major.
So how are you going to catch a fish? That's my mind goes there too. Is like, what do I want as food? you certainly, would think trout and small fish would be a great meal.
But
But
I
how are
catch
you
one of
going to?
those by hand.
Yeah, it's hard enough to catch them as it is. We know, like how are you
True.
going to get a fish? I think more likely you're catching frogs. And if you can move fast enough,
Like worms, bugs.
I think probably worms, ants,
I'm going to flipping rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're flipping.
grubs.
Yeah. Grubs. Yeah.
Nymphs.
Yep.
Maybe a rogue crayfish.
Yeah, and that stuff isn't gonna taste
I wouldn't
very
eat
good,
it.
but
I
it's not
wouldn't,
gonna kill you. It's,
wouldn't do a slug. Slugs can carry some nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there was
It's true.
a guy that ate
In
a
Australia.
slug in
Really tragic story.
yeah.
really.
Yeah. He ate a slug out of like a dare, and it ended up carrying some type of like
Rat lungworm.
yeah, and
disease or
it
something
pretty much
like that?
paralyzed him
Yeah, he
entirely.
went into a coma for a year.
Oh
Yeah.
my god,
And then
that's a whole. We should tell that story.
Yeah, it's really grim.
Really, really sad.
Let's
Yeah.
tee that up for
He
the
was like
next
a high
podcast.
schooler or something.
Whoa. All right.
This
well,
was like recent. Well,
yeah,
relatively
yeah,
recent,
he was.
yeah.
Yeah, it was within the last like.
I'll
few
tell you
years.
what you definitely don't want to eat are newts. There's actually a famous
Yep,
story
right,
of like
yeah,
newts getting into like tea kettles from pioneers and dying from drinking just the remnants of newts. Like newts are one of the most toxic amphibians, and they would be easy to catch. They're not very fast, and there's a lot of them out there.
Are they they're like one of the few aposematic animals that I can think of
They
in
are.
like the continental U.S.
They're more in California. I'm sure there are newts in the Dakotas, but I'm just thinking like
What you would come across in a river.
yeah.
Well, you've heard it here. Don't eat the newts.
Don't eat the newts,
Don't
guys.
don't do it.
Frogs probably okay.
Yeah.
In America, definitely. Some other places, not so much. But up here, you'd be all right.
Yep.
So okay,
All right.
what? That's probably your limit. You're not catching birds. You're not until you have your strength. You're
Small-
not
yeah.
catching other animals. You're probably looking for dead stuff. I'm not surprised by the bison part of the story. Finding carrion and dead carcasses would be a good way to go. And as long as the sun had baked it, it's kind of like beef jerky.
Hopefully.
you hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of risks that Hugh had to take along this journey on picking and eating and drinking was it's hard to imagine.
I got to think the guts built a little different back then, though.
True.
And to his credit, like this was his trade. Like
Yeah.
adventuring
That-
into the wild.
That's the thing
was
that I think
what he did for a living.
your normal
you know?
person is not surviving any of this. He was a skilled outdoorsman.
Yeah.
So, we have these bear encounters, right? Do you guys know the proper protocol if you do surprise a bear, especially with cubs? Like realistically, like what should you do? I talked a little bit about our video. We have a video on this, but do you know?
I'm probably going straight into the fetal position, like back up.
You
Like,
want to have it. Chance
like
at deterring you.
this is under the idea that it has seen you.
It has seen you.
Yeah.
So we've actually run into this scenario in Alaska before with a mother bear with cubs.
do I have anything on me, or is it just me and my T-shirt?
If it's you should have at least bear spray on you.
No, I mean in this hypothetical, if you come across it.
Yeah, you should have bear spray. You have bear spray.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm giving you bear spray.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're
just
using
throwing
bear
it,
spray.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Try to.
I'd stand there. You
Well, what's
get
the
it,
first
get it.
protocol? What do you do before the bear spray?
Don't move.
Yeah. Well, I'd start backing away slowly. We'll
If
keep
it
in
hasn't
mind.
noticed you yet, you can back away.
If it has noticed you, don't.
If it has noticed you, you're no longer backing away.
Okay.
We need to set what
Not at
scene
first.
is here.
Yeah.
Not at first.
What stage are we in this encounter?
It's noticed you standing there, right? That's where we're at.
It's on alert. It's
Okay.
looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
I'd slowly dismount my bear spray from wherever it is.
That's smart. I'm
Yeah.
into that.
Very slowly do that.
Like I know with black bears, obviously you just yell like "Go away, bear!" Like
Actually,
yeah,
you do that with grizzly bear.
Okay.
So the first thing you should do, wave your arms and try to yell.
Uh-huh.
Create an adversarial position to where if that mother bear looks at you and is like, I can actually run that way with the cubs instead, and that's better than just taking out that thing. I'm going to do that. That's what you want her to choose that.
Okay.
So you want to create a lot of noise, wave your arms, look big, and look like, somewhat of a threat, more so than just you standing there. If you look like an easy threat, you're probably going to get attacked. But if you look like maybe, I don't know how bad this is going to be threat, and there's a way to get away, then she may do that. And that's not always the case, but that's your best first bet. While doing this, you should get your bear spray out because that's your next mode of operation. Now, if she starts pursuing you, starts lurching forward, Because a lot of times grizzlies don't just like see you and snap it. They can.
Yeah.
They snap, like in the movie The Revenant, just goes into attack from the brush. That can't happen, but a lot of times they start to get closer.
Get some momentum.
Likely because they want to see what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see if you're going to run. If you run, you're now
Prey.
You're now not a threat.
Yeah.
And easier to eliminate. So you're going to get chased and probably mauled.
Mm-hmm.
So don't run. The instinct will be to run, but you should not run.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to start coming at you. If your waving does not deter the bear, assuming she's not full sprint already,
mm-hmm.
that's when you start hitting the bear spray. When you're close up, like let's say you're within 20, 30, 40 yards and she's still coming near you, you're hitting
mm-hmm.
the spray now. And you're basically trying to create a cloud of spray because their
in
nose
front before it gets to you.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So they have very sensitive mucous membranes because their sense of smell is so
mm-hmm.
great. They're like
It's better than dogs, right?
8 or 10 times more than a bloodhound. So very sensitive noses, very sensitive eyes. So you want to get that pepper spray, which is what bear spray is. It's a mace for bears, essentially. You're going to get that in the air, create a cloud.
Is it more of a cloud or is it like a jet? Or both?
There are different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you should know. We've bought both. I think there's probably pros and cons to both. Mm-hmm. The cloud creates more of a chance that some of those particles will enter the mucous
mm-hmm.
membrane and alarm her enough so she'll be like, oh, this is a threat. Let me get
mm-hmm.
out of here. The spray, however, is more directional. And for me, makes me feel more in control.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I like the jets.
Yeah.
Because you can probably, I imagine, fire it and then like adjust.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can blast it. It's almost like the Ghostbusters, how they have the neutron beams.
It has more than one. Just you don't have your one shot for a moment, or is it like you got?
I think they last for about 15 to 20 seconds.
Okay.
Of spray.
All right. That's
depending on the size.
Yeah.
Don't go for the little bear spray. Go for the big one.
The splurge.
Yeah, if you go for the little one's just like pepper seasoning for yourself. You're just like making the meal better. But yeah, go for the real one. And this is controversial. A lot of people think bear spray is enough. I am not one of those people. I actually think you should be armed if you're in grizzly country with a firearm. In those worst case, if you really need to save your life,
mm-hmm.
because the pepper spray doesn't always work, especially if they're full charge, you're probably getting mauled.
Yeah, momentum.
Yeah. So your best case scenario, step one, if you're seen. If you're not seen, get out of there. Like you're far enough away and they don't see you yet, don't make any noise.
Yep.
Try to leave. Try to get out of sight and then run. If you're out of sight and you're far enough away and they don't see, then you can run back to camp. But try to leave. If they see you and you're too close, make noise. If they're aggressively pursuing you or they're moving toward you and they're close enough to hit with the bear spray, hit them with the spray.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a firearm, that's when you use it. So those are your best preemptive things that you can do to avoid attack. Now, if you're getting attacked, now we're in a whole nother situation.
Ragdoll on the ground.
Give up.
Protect. Give up. Don't fight back.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not going to help the situation if you're fighting back.
Mm-hmm.
The sooner you seem eliminated, the better.
Yeah.
Which sounds counterintuitive. Now, black bear, we can talk about this on a different podcast because there's other stories with black bear. Not the same. I want to make that distinction really clear.
Oh, you're brawling with that boy.
Yeah. Much smaller bear. Black bears are often more food motivated when they attack. Like, so they're looking at you as food.
Yeah.
Or you're in the way of their food. They're not like eliminating you.
I've come across black bears before in New Hampshire a couple of times, and they're
it's like don't be.
They're pretty much like they're big raccoons kind of.
Yeah, they're
like,
a little more scraggly.
Yeah,
you could fight.
Yeah, they're not nearly as intimidating, obviously, but obviously they do. Like if you're around a campsite in New Hampshire, chances are they're and this goes for any campground really. It's like they're locking up the dumpsters because those guys like to climb in there and.
Now here's a question. Part 2 to the bear attack.
Mm-hmm.
So all bears start as cubs. They look super cute, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why, unfortunately, they're often found in the pet trade. People will buy black and grizzly bear cubs as pets, and then, of course, as soon as they grow to a certain size, they realize that's a terrible idea, and they end up releasing these bears, and that's how they become nuisance bears because they get habituated to people. They end up in town. There's a lot of rescue programs that are specifically designed to help these situations. But the question is, what size bear, we're talking about grizzly bear specifically, what size grizzly bear do you feel like you would actually be able to win in a confrontation? And what is that tipping point?
How much does Augie weigh?
Augie weighs 30 pounds.
Oh,
35 pounds.
Oh,
35
man.
pounds when he's full hair and wet.
Very average sized dog, by and large.
I think like
Just for reference. For
how much do they weigh when they're born? Like
I think a brown bear cub probably weighs like 15 pounds, 10 to 15. They're much smaller when they're born,
yeah.
but like the ones when you see them moving around, the little teddy bears probably 10 to 15 pounds.
House cat.
I feel like
silhouette.
I could get up to like a 65-pound bear.
Ooh, I don't know, dude. That's like a German Shepherd.
Yeah,
small German Shepherd, like a Malinois, and I've been taken down by a Malinois.
I think Malinois are only like 45 pounds too.
Yeah.
All right. I've already said my number, but
Oh, okay, so
What about you?
65 initial. God, 45 maybe.
I'm in that camp. I
Yeah.
think 40 pounds is probably the upper limit of what I'd be willing to like scrap with before I'm
Like
I think you can run from one of those bears. Like I don't
Yeah.
put it this way, a 65-pound subadult grizzly bear,
I feel
you're
like
in a
you
much
get away
better
from-
position than
yeah.
an 800-pound grizzly bear.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
exponentially.
I'm not
you're in
saying
a
I
better position.
definitely win in that fight. I don't think I necessarily would. I think there's a chance. Like it's maybe it's an
what
outside-
age do they start standing up and swinging?
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's also
You're
a criteria.
probably a 100-pound bear at that
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So a 100-pound bear, probably in convertible mode, is probably standing up to close to your height and with some issues.
Yeah.
You know,
The thing I'm just thinking like
can cause you
straight
issues.
weight is a big factor in any fight for the most part. It's gonna have the agility, it's gonna have claws, but
It's got armor too. I mean, that fur is basically armor.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that.
I mean, yeah, I think your realistic chance of being able to fight off or fend off a bear probably is around that 40 to 60-pound range.
beyond that you're
Beyond that, you're toast.
Yeah.
So that's not that big of a bear.
no.
To be
Oh
honest.
no, it's small. I mean,
Yeah.
in bear terms, it's tiny.
All right, so address that. So basically, like sometimes with the cubs we ran into with the mother and the cubs in Alaska out of Haines, there were 3 smaller cubs, and they were probably over 100 pounds each. So you wouldn't even want to mess with the cub at that point, let alone the mom.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, they ran the other way.
I feel like height would have a good bit to do with it too. Like if it can start getting you from like the waist up, like you're probably in a much worse situation than like if it is like thigh height or below.
Yep.
You could probably take anything really like thigh height and below, because like your vitals are a good bit of distance away from it, and you can use your legs to your advantage.
All right, let's talk about something a little bit uncomfortable.
Ooh.
Not that any of this is, warm and fuzzy, but this whole idea of wound care with maggots.
God,
how would
that's
you react to
hardcore.
having to, use flesh-eating maggots as a wound cleaning first aid? Like, how do you think you'd have it in today's time? Would you have the mental fortitude to let that happen?
I mean, I'm gonna come out of the gate and say I think I could.
You do?
I think so.
Imagine like just
'Cause-
the wriggling and bubbling of the under the skin because
It'd
they
be
bore
bad.
in.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's tough to say, but like the logic of it is there for me. Like they are eating the dead flesh and
Yeah.
don't eat live flesh. I think I could like convince myself, like almost like delusionally, like this is working. I think with a little bit of hopeless optimism, I think I could do it. I think I could let that happen.
Hey, so
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think I could live with it to an extent. If it was like
Also, yeah, and like dying of infection would be the most would be one of a really awful ways to go.
I think I would need someone to tell me before being like, this is gonna help. Though, like I wouldn't just think of it myself to be like, let maggots get it. If I didn't know and I like looked down and there were maggots, I'd be like,
so,
oh god, that's
the
not
folk
right.
the folk medicine of it is that maggots will eat dead flesh but will not eat living tissue.
I'm just
So if you had that in the back of your mind,
Oh.
it's pretty bad.
I don't even know if we can show this.
No, that's freaking gnarly.
Let's put the screen up and just pixelate the entire screen because it's so bad.
Oh,
Ugh.
oh man,
Ugh.
I'm getting nauseous.
It's so gross.
I can do it. I could do it. This is fine.
This is a side note. I don't even know if this will make the cut. But when I went to Brazil over the winter, we were like in the jungle and like walking barefoot for the most part through like clay and stuff, and my feet were just getting like cut up. Came home, I had a worm got in my foot, like a parasitic worm, and I
Really?
could like see it in my foot.
That's pretty gross.
How big?
Yeah. It's like this. It's
Whoa.
like a hookworm.
Whoa,
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot longer.
it's a lot bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
No, it's like
It's
actively
like this.
I could see it under the skin, like there, like curled up, and it would move.
You peel it out.
No, you just take a pill. and
Oh, you
it's sort
took
of- yeah.
medication.
Yeah.
All right, good. I was going to say
Yeah.
maybe
I thought
you
you
might
were
want to have
about
that checked out.
I thought you were about to say no. I just left it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Well, we know Ace's answer.
Yep.
All right.
I wasn't that alarmed by it. I was like, this thing, like my foot was itchy, and I was like, what the heck? And I
Yeah,
looked.
like for me, it's all about the purpose. Like if the maggots are supposed to be there,
Yeah, he
and I
wasn't-
know about it, I'm good with it.
Wasn't supposed to be
If
there.
it's not supposed to be there, well, I'm freaking out. That's a little bit.
All right.
That's gonna put me into panic.
I think I could let the maggots do their thing to a limitation. What
I
we
don't
just
know.
saw
Seeing
on
that,
screen,
I
did
don't.
click
I
off of
couldn't.
it.
I couldn't do that many.
That's gnarly. And you can imagine the smell. The smell, it would be just
Be pretty bad.
atrocious.
Yeah.
Whew, okay. If you're still with us, let's wrap up this segment with what I think is sometimes an or maybe like an understated portion for survival, and that is the motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
The becoming brave moment for Hugh Glass. What motivated him to do this? Because I think it's safe to say we all have a survival instinct. There's something deep within all of us that wants to live. And when you're faced with death, you tend to, gain inner strength you didn't know you had. But then there are moments in life where we see superhuman strength come out, and it's more than the will to survive. Like you hear about these stories of, moms who can like lift cars to save their children, right? Like defying physics. To me, this survival story defies the physical reality that you're facing in a way where I don't believe just the will to survive is enough. So to me, there needs to be more to this story that wills Hugh Glass to make that 200-mile journey for 6 weeks. What do you guys think is the motivation for Hugh Glass to go through this?
I have a take on this. So I think very, very initially when he is first coming back into consciousness, I think it probably is that like lizard brain, like just will to survive and to get your bearings. But do you guys know what a revenant is?
No.
What the
word.
movie's name? Yeah.
Go for it.
It is a spirit or ghost that comes back from the dead to avenge something. I think that's the
Ooh.
definition. So I think just by the name of the movie, of course, and the nature of which he was left, I think it's a little touch
Yeah.
of personalization in there for
I
motivation.
need to see those guys that left me for dead. Like show 'em.
Yeah. I mean, now we don't know everything about Hugh Glass. Like he could have had, children, other things that needed to get done that motivated. But yeah, I think for me, the vengeance.
I think it's a matter of both the primal urge to live and the vengeance. I think that's a pretty potent spice.
Yeah. You could imagine how distraught you would be waking up with nothing, knowing that you were supposed to be helped and cared for. I think that would drive me to a little bit of vengeance feeling like I needed to right this wrong. And after you get through, I agree with you, Andrew, after you get through that lizard brain survival period, which probably lasted a week or two, now you're gaining your strength and you're like, whoa, I definitely shouldn't have got left because I'm still here. Now I'm even more ticked off.
Yeah.
That would drive me to keep going for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's a perfect like compounding recipe of drive.
Asa, do you have a opinion on this?
I mean, hate is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's
Of, like,
can we look up?
Knowing that
Revenant,
he,
what the
he was
what
abandoned
Revenant
by
is?
the people that he trusted. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the vengeance aspect I do think is ultimately beyond. He had that mindset before of just survival. You need that drive
What do
to
you want me to
like
look
always pull
The
yourself.
definition of revenant.
A person who has returned, especially from the dead. So a person who has returned from the dead. There's probably more to it than
Because
just
I think
that.
it's like a band, like I think it's supposed
Yeah.
to be like ghost related,
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
but it's specifically one that's seeking revenge.
Yeah, one that returns after death or a long absent.
Okay, maybe I'm adding the revenge angle in there.
I mean, it's in the context of this, I think that's fair. But the whole idea of returning from the dead, certainly, Hugh Glass would own that word more than most.
All right.
say so.
All right. Let's flip the table a little bit. Imagine you're these guys and you see, like, I'm sure that wasn't an easy decision to leave him behind, and then one day he's just there
again. Oh,
and he's out for it.
And he looks like I killed the slide already, but he looks like that. Yikes!
just standing there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And they let's just say the legal system wasn't as judicious
Yeah.
as it is today. Back then, they
I would
kind of
say-
handled it.
I'm kind of surprised that there was any sort of law protecting the Fitzgerald guy. You know.
I got to think he was just with his like crew of the soldiers he was with that were like, you can't go shoot him there. But
Yeah, killing soldiers is not.
that said, I think if they were just in the town or the trading post that he got back to and he walked up to them and just took a pistol to him, the people in the town would be like, okay, fair.
that's how it is.
Yeah. Like,
Kind of
That's-
wonder, what would you do if you were? The first thing you
I
do
don't know if I
is
would
you,
like,
is you shower him with gifts and here's your stuff back and here's some more stuff and
yeah.
And more.
I knew you had it in you, buddy.
Yeah.
I was testing
Ooh,
you.
bad shoulder. Ooh, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, it
man.
sounds like he forgave the kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good on him, though.
Yeah.
In those times, I wouldn't expect it even. 18 at that point is like the equivalent of like 35 today.
So he looked at Fitzgerald as the adult in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have
Yeah.
not left him for dead like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they had words.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't like a very cordial relationship
No.
after
would
this.
I think not.
Whew, what a story. Man, the survival story of Hugh Glass, the inspiration for The Revenant. That's a good one. That one was definitely worth making a movie about. And if you haven't seen the movie The Revenant, I highly encourage you to go do so. If you're squeamish, maybe skip. But if you like good films, if you like films that have epic score and cinematography and wilderness plots, I actually can't think of a better one.
Yeah, I mean, the bear attack scene. I don't think I've ever actually physically cringed harder in like watching a movie.
And the
like,
way-
you're-
the
and
way
just
it
keeps-
breathed.
and it just keeps going.
Just the breath of the
Oh,
bear.
God.
Oh my gosh.
Incredible film.
Gnarly. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that was an awesome podcast. I am looking forward to more of these. Really loving the unpacking of these epic survival tales. Tell us in the comment section if there's other stories that you want us to bring to the Becoming Brave podcast. We have some really big videos coming out. Like we mentioned earlier, the Murder Hornet sting test is coming up next right here on this channel. If you subscribe to Mark Vins, you'll get notified about it. Make sure to click that notification bell. Drop us a comment on future topics you want us to cover on Becoming Brave. And that's going to do it for us today. Thank you, Asa, Andrew, as always.
And don't forget to tell us how big of a bear you think you could take.
Ooh, there we go. A little bit of homework for you. Hit us up in the comment section. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.